cold turkey is great on sandwiches, but there's much better ways to break bad habits, particularly in this new year. I'm talking about my sponsor, Fume. Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored device built to help you part ways with old habits. Instead of electronics, vapors, and harmful chemicals, Fume is completely natural and uses flavored air. It's a habit you're free to enjoy, and it makes replacing your bad habit very easy. Stopping is something everybody puts off because it's hard, but I'm not telling you to stop. I'm telling you we can switch right now to Fume. It's easy, it's enjoyable, it's even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers, and they've got tens of thousands of success stories. And there's no reason the next one can't be you. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial, and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, which is helpful when you're de-stressing and trying to break a habit. It's very fun to fidget with. Head to tryfume.com/Chael or scan the QR code. Make sure you use the code Chael to get yourself 10% off. All you gotta do is click the link below. It should come as no surprise, I told you so. Israel Adesanya is headed to Canada. He's gonna be sitting in the front row, so that the winner of Strickland Plessis can be presented with Izzy. Based on your guys' reaction, of which is going to be very strong, is going to be the final decision of will that be the main event of 300 or will that be a co-main event of 300? Plan right now is that headlines. Now, when I say I told you so, long ago I told you, and I even told you how and why we got here. I told you how and why Kamaru Usman and Chimaev were never fighting for a number one contendership. That was never going to come around, and I shared everything with you. I told you this entire plan and story. So, and it's relevant. It's relevant, right? Like, I want credit, not because I have sources. There's so many people that have sources. I don't need sources. This is how well I see things. Truly. When they rushed Plessis and Strickland to the market, that alone was the red flag that I needed to put everything else together. And I did that for you 3 weeks ago. Now, you got to understand one thing, and I really hope this gets used. I have a difference in opinion with the marketing department at the UFC. I believe it's the only thing we disagree on. In fairness to that statement, I can't prove I'm right. It would be an experiment. It hasn't been done before. But in fairness to my statement, they can't prove that they're right. It'd be an experiment. It hasn't been done before. I love the concept of number one contender, guys. And let me just take you back to the last practical time that we actually saw this. It was Madison Square Garden in November of 2023. And we had a light heavyweight title fight. Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira. When that fight had concluded, Pereira called out Anthony from Nebraska. Did it in Portuguese. I couldn't understand. I understood the word Anthony. I understood the word Nebraska. The translator lied. And lie is a vicious word because perhaps he just doesn't speak Portuguese and just wanted the job of being translator. Perhaps he just didn't know what he said. Lied and said that Pereira had called out Israel Adesanya. That did not happen. But Israel Adesanya, watching this, doesn't have an interpreter, assumes it's true and starts blasting back, and that's where these guys start going at each other. Well, both of those are off script from the plan that was fed into Joe Rogan's earpiece, which was to let Pereira know, and then a camera throws down to Jamal Hill, who's sitting ringside. So Joe Rogan tries to fix this in the moment, just so these things don't get good. Like, if it's said at the end of the night at a pay-per-view, it is so. It is so hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube, which is why Rogan gets fed in his earpiece. Let them all know that it's Jamal next. It's not Anthony from Nebraska, and it's not Adesanya for the 100th time. So he does. He does. He lets us know. I appreciate it. I think that's really good stuff. Where I'm arguing, where my argument is when you know who it's going to be, say it ahead of time. If you're a true number one contender, it doesn't matter who the opponent is, right? And they expect that for champion. If you're the champion, you get a call, you take on anybody. They expect that, but we only have one guy that actually lives life that way. Islam Makhachev. The only guy that actually understands and will honor that code, business be damned. I don't care what draws the most. Whoever I'm asked, if I'm the champ, I face whenever I'm asked. We only have one guy that follows the code, and that's Islam. So, what I share for you, if you want that as champion, then that has to be in return to us, the audience. You want us to back you up that the champion should do this. You want us to help peer pressure, do all the things that are needed to promote and build a fight. If you want us to do that, you got to show us the same respect for number one contender. Okay? So if Hill's there, okay, if Jamal Hill's there, if he's in the front row, if they know the final shot of the night is a cameo to him, why didn't it say it ahead of time? Because it wouldn't have changed. It wasn't the calling out of Adesanya. It wasn't the calling out of Anthony Smith. It was always going to be Jamal. Jamal was the champion. He never lost. He relinquished the belt, which is good for business. He helped out. We're going to return a favor to him. It was always Jamal. But now there's the appearance of, no, we like Jamal versus Pereira. We might not have done it if it was Jamal versus Prohaska. We have that appearance. Why? Why? You knew it was him. He sat there. He doesn't live here. You flew him in. You put him in a hotel. You drove him to the goddamn event. You've known the whole time it was going to be him. Say that it's him. And they never want to do that. And the reason they don't want to do it is what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Like when we have a number one contenders bout, as long as that goes the way we thought that was going to go, we're going to honor it. I understand these things. It's like some conspiracy. I understand these things. You're in a very unique situation. Israel Adesanya versus Duplessis, if Duplessis wins, works all day long. Adesanya versus Duplessis, if Duplessis loses, works all day long. Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland, if Sean wins in a rematch for the belt, that works all day long. Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland, if Sean Strickland loses in a rematch, grudge match, works all day long. There is no way to screw that fight up. And you got 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Like there has not been a feud in our sport as hot. It melted the airwaves as hot as Izzy versus Duplessis. We've never seen anything like it. And that was on a personal grudge. And that was the fight that was to be. That we didn't get. You then have Izzy returning from the third biggest upset in the history of the UFC. You have the middleweight GOAT. I was the king of that division. Nobody knows that division but me. Like me. And I'm telling you now, he's the best we've had at that weight class. Third biggest upset in history. He was 6-1 favored by the only line that matters in this industry, the UFC's one and only partner, DraftKings. 6.25, if you want to be exact, favored. They lost every single round. And that works, right? It just does. And it's powerful. And where do you go from there? And you got Chimaev coming back, but Chimaev has revealed to us that this wasn't home cooking like it appeared. He had an injury. He had an illness. He couldn't do it. Everything is lining up, and you've got the perfect situation. The plan for 300 is there. Is it going to be big enough and hot enough? Does the fight between Strickland and Duplessis, is it big enough and hot enough to main event, or do we got to put it in a co-position? That's business. Those decisions will come. But you're doing business with the only guy that understands that competition exists. The only guy that doesn't think, well, they'll get to a matchmaker meeting and, see whoever's heaviest, or, they'll understand that I have 2 finishes and I'm excited. When I fight, the only guaranteed winner is the fans. You have a roster of that, and you have one guy that understands there's a different game. His name is Israel Adesanya. So when you're vying for top position and you got the best at it, don't forget O'Malley's booked and so's Conor. So there's not even a maybe of who the guy is. He's going to come in, he's going to get you the top billing. Stay back, let him do his thing. It's an interesting spot. We've never really seen anything like it. And because we're here, because it's a guarantee, because it's an absolute, because it works, there's nothing that will stop Adesanya from taking on the winner of that match. Nothing. Nothing. So advertise it. Tell it ahead of time. Make it a true number one contender. Show some integrity to that statement. When is the last time you promised a number one contenders match and you honored it? And the crowd has never resisted. They've never pushed back. The media has never asked a single time. The media has never written a bad article. You promised that and did again and again and again. And every time the media will write, it's a number one contender, it's a number one contender, it's a number one. They'll help the build. And then they'll be made to look like fools, but they've never pushed back. They've always accepted it. This is just a unique situation where you can make the claim and you can come through on it. I've always told you, Plessis, Strickland, didn't matter. It was rushed to the market. Had nothing to do with any. It all has to do with 300. That's changed. That press conference, that's changed. I understand that too. Regardless of the winner, you could even put him with the loser. You draw him right in to Adesanya. That's obvious. Obvious to me 3 weeks ago when I first told the world. But it's important that you make the claim beforehand, not as though it's an afterthought when the event is concluded.